Hello everybody and welcome to Beelzebub's Buns channel. Today we are going to be looking at the Halo franchise and what is 343 doing with this. Now of course there are some good things, there are some bad things, but before we get into that I just want to say that the gameplay that you're going to be watching is going to be Halo 5 Guardians and some Halo 2, and I'm going to be going into a little bit more in depth as to the ones that are involved in the Halo franchise. Also an idea that I have for Forge, which I've had all the way back since Halo Reach. I've had this idea, and I'm sure many of other people have had a similar idea or the exact same idea, but this is now my chance to get it out there. Perhaps us as the Halo fans, maybe we can forge together some ideas and pitch it to 343, try to get word out. Maybe we could see some implementation into Halo 6. Wouldn't it be amazing if Halo 6 was created mostly by a lot of what the fans want? Now, of course, there's going to be budget constraints, and the publishers, which Microsoft Studios, really deals heavily with what happens in the Halo franchise. Okay, it's not just 343 making these decisions. We are also looking at Microsoft as the publisher themselves. So let's get into this. Number one, this is what I wanted to bring up. I've been watching some YouTube videos and all that, and I got the chance to stumble across this video, which is from Halo Follower, and this was a gentleman named Austin that was doing an interview with Jeff Steitzer. Do I really have to go into who Jeff Steitzer is?
Slayer, killing spree.
Okay, there. That's who Jeff Steitzer is. He is the voice of God. He is the multiplayer voice. Jeff Steitzer has been around ever since the original Halo. But there's actually been some people who thought that it was completely somebody else that has been doing these voiceover announcements, especially in Halo 2 Anniversary. Okay, so I'm going to compare the original Halo sound of Jeff Steitzer to what he sounded like in Halo 2 Anniversary. Here you go.
Slayer, capture the flag. Oddball, king of the hill. Slayer, take the bomb and assault the enemy base. You have the bomb.
Okay, see the difference there? There is a major difference. Now, it's not just him accidentally doing this. He has been told from 343 to, hey, this is what we want you to sound like. We want you to sound what I'm assuming is more of an announcement, something that's more clear to the player rather than just a one word or maybe a few words like we saw in the original Halos. In Halo 1, there's definitely a more dark undertone to this, and it really set the stage, it kind of set the mood when you started up a multiplayer game with your friends. Even though Halo is pretty hilarious and chaotic in a lot of certain situations, still to have that dark voice in the back is just another way to just bring about and embellish the mood that Halo projects. Now, I did say that I listened to an interview with him from Halo Follower. Now, there was something in the interview that I found unsettling and actually pretty daunting. So I want you to listen to this bit here that I have. I'm not going to play the entire thing because it did come from somebody else, but to get my point across and to have proof that 343 is going a different direction with him, or at least wants to go a different direction with him, this is something that I found a little troubling. Listen to this.
With 343, the approach was a little bit different. And for the first time, I was given line readings, which I had never had before. And in particular, they really pulled back the voice. So the kind of character that I had been using prior to that, they wanted less and less of. It was never really explained to me. We did have a situation in one of the last recordings that I did a couple of months ago, where they kept pulling it back. And I said, could you do me a favor? Would you mind calling out the voice from one of the earlier games? And they did, and they heard the difference, and they said, go ahead, just do what you're doing. It was the same guy when we did 5, and he had the same direction. I don't think he's there anymore, however. So I don't know what'll happen if they have me back in to do more stuff, which I assume they will. Although there was one point where I think they were trying to get rid of all of us. Jen Taylor, who plays Cortana, they'd replaced her.
Okay, so after listening to that, what he was saying that 343 originally replaced her with another voice actress, and then they said, well, okay, we're going to bring you back Jen Taylor. Now, there are certain things that I think should definitely be changed in each Halo game. Okay, even the game engine itself has changed from the first one into the second one to the third one. They would completely scratch the game engine and start from the ground up. Taking out and adding certain things, I understand, but completely changing all of the voice actors and creating a whole new cast just sounds so unnecessary. Now, the flip side to this is that the voice actors may eventually want to retire. There are some that are getting to the age where they may just want to have their own time, okay? Because the voice acting, might be something that they love, but overall it is a job and they are an employee. So there will come a time where they just want to go. And so I would understand how they would want to bring in somebody new to play, let's say, the Master Chief or Cortana or, any of the Marines or whatnot. But just changing them completely without them wanting to retire or quit, is just not something that I would see be very beneficial to the Halo series at all. So changing all the cast members was definitely something that surprised a lot of us listeners and a lot of us Halo fans. But the biggest thing that really stood out to me in this interview was the man who was in the recording studio with Jeff Steitzer helping him record. The notion that I got from this, even though it is Jeff Steitzer saying this, maybe he said it in a certain way. Okay, I wasn't really in the actual recording booth, so what would I know? But one thing for sure is that this came from Jeff Steitzer. Okay, Jeff Steitzer said, you know what, do you want to bring in the original Halo sounds from what I did before? And when they did, the man that was recording says, you know what, just do what you've been doing. But here lies the problem, though, is that Jeff Steitzer himself has been doing the Halo series for over a decade. He's been doing a certain voice. And for this gentleman to say, hey, we want you to sound like this. Oh, wait, now that I heard what you sounded like before, just do what you've been doing. For a game series like Halo, it sounds rather unprofessional. However, if we give the benefit of the doubt, perhaps Jeff Steitzer was just trying to say it in this way to convey that he's seen a bit of a difference in the voiceover work that he's been doing for Halo because 343 wants it to sound a certain way. Okay, maybe, but one thing's for sure. As that topic wrapped up in that interview, Jeff Steitzer did say that the man that was in the recording studio, he is no longer working there. And he didn't really say that he's been included into Halo 6 yet. I mean, Halo 6 is, still in development and they may record at a later time once the game reaches completion. But it's just a little staggering to hear that from somebody who has been in the Halo series for so long. He's been behind the scenes. He's at least played a part that we do not see as the gamers. Now, of course, to end this topic on a good note, I'm very excited to see what Halo 6 can come about with. I think that 343 and Microsoft Studios have learned from the past of what came about with the Master Chief Collection and the lack of content that Halo 5 came with, and also the story just wasn't your epic Halo story. But I do have high hopes for what Halo 6 can be. So let's look at some idea that can make Halo 6 just the most community loved, the most social, just one of the coolest aspects that can be included into the Halo franchise that we haven't ever seen before, okay? Now, when we take Forge World, okay, this is something that we saw in Halo Reach, but if we take something like Forge World, right, as massive Halo looking, with canyons and, areas with land masses, and we put in all the great fidelity work that is in Halo 5 Forge, but the main thing that we include in this is that you can place enemies in. You could place the Covenant, you could place Prometheans, but what if the Brutes came back and we were able to include the Brutes in like an enemy wave or something? Now, this reminds me very much of what Far Cry 4 does, okay? In Far Cry 4, you can go to Map Editor. Okay, there's some beautiful maps that people like you and me make. And, actually, I have made some maps. But anyways, I'm not going to say they're beautiful. That's just a little bit big-headed of me. But people will go in and place spawn points for the enemy. And you can also have allies as well. And you played on this map as if it was like a level in the actual campaign itself. If we had something like that in Halo, you know how awesome that would be? And okay, we're getting the file browser in Halo 5 coming up here, but imagine something like that and people forge a map, we could play on it together, like versus and all that. Or we can also place in spawn points for the enemies and hold off waves and waves of enemies. Okay, now I know the AI is going to be a certain issue because placing in objects, you know, at your own will, you know, the AI would have to get around all that. But we've seen this done before, and it hasn't been on just a PC game, you know, it's not a PC mod. This is something that we've seen in Far Cry 4 on the Xbox, and of course, you know, PlayStation. This is something that a console can do. And I think if 343 were to push this idea of placing in enemies in Forge, actually making it like a map that we can actually share together and play together with our friends. I've always thought about the idea of remaking a map such as High Ground that we saw in Halo 3 and placing in, let's say, a whole bunch of Covenant in the base, right? And you take your friends and you go and assault that base and take over. And then as you take over, then you have a wave of Covenant, you know, coming in and assaulting the base that you just occupied, you know, trying to take back. I think that could be one of the coolest experiences that we've ever had. So anyways, this has been Beelzebub's Buns channel. If you like this video, go ahead and leave a like, and if you want to see more gameplay videos like this or want to listen to some creepypastas, go ahead and subscribe to this channel. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.